In today's video, I'll be going over two different examples. This is going to be the first tutorial where I show you how to create the connections. And on the second portion is going to be a time lapse where I share a different iteration. Both of the scripts are available to download completely for free. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for being here and let's jump right in. For this exercise, we need to start with a surface. So that's what we'll do here. Double click, bring in a plane. Now we'll create a plane surface so we can plug in X and Y for the size. I'll make it a square and just go, let's say 15.5. I'll plug this slider both into the X and Y. For this example, we're going to subdivide this using isotrim. So let's go to isotrim. To divide the surface, we need to also bring in divide domain squared. So we'll plug in the plane both into the surface and the domain input, and the segments will go into the domain input for the isotrim. Now let's change the subdivisions. So now we have this subdivided. Now I plugged in both the U and V using one slider, and that's just to simplify this example. It's going to be the same outcome in the end. So what we'll do now with this surface output is notice that it overlaps with the original. So we'll take this and disable the preview. And now we can continue here. Let's use this subdivision. Okay. So with this subdivided surface, now we're going to be creating the connections here. Now the technique we're going to use is taking the line segments that are here, shrinking them down. But what happens is at this moment, if I were to bake this, these are separate surfaces, which means that we're going to have overlapping or redundant line segments here. And I can tell that because when I bake it, it will have a surface in each one here. So to make sure that we only extract one line segment per location here, we need to join it first. Going to brep join, flatten the input, and now we can go to deconstruct brep, or now this is going to be brep edges, and this will give us the edges, both the interior and exterior. So I'll take this, disable the preview on this, and now we can extract both the inside wireframe and outside wireframe. And this could be useful for just a simple wireframe subdivision of a structure or a design. You can extract the outside and the inside, and this way you can create, let's say, a pipe segment using the exterior here, and making the radius be a different size for the exterior, and then having a copy of this and doing the same thing for the interior but with a different size. So this lets you have a little bit more control in extracting the line segments. But what we're going to do now is take those line segments and we're going to be creating the connection here in between. So what I'll do now is unplug the pipe segments, and let's move that to the side. Now let's come in here and we're going to merge these two because the connections we're creating is for the entire wireframe. So we can merge those sets by plugging in the exterior, then the interior. And now we have all of them here. So we have 24 line segments. All right. Now for this next one, we're going to be using this technique like I mentioned. It's going to be using extend curve. And now we want to use the start and end amount. So I'll go minus 1.5, less than 0, less than 1.5. And this will give me a custom slider at 0 that we can say at the start and end. We don't want it to extend anything. Now we can plug this in. If we decrease the size, notice that it extends it in the opposite direction. Of course I can extend it. We can have overhangs, but let's say minus 0.5. Now we've technically shorten the struts, and now what we need to do is make up the information in between to create the connection. So now when looking at this, we can go back and disable the preview on the ISO trim. Here we have the connection size. What we need to do is take the endpoints and start points and connect them with the endpoint and start points of the original. So here we'll bring in endpoints and endpoints for both. Plug in the curve into the curve input. This is going to be the start point. This is going to be the endpoint. So these connect with this. Let's go to a line segment between the start points and the endpoints. So now with these two sets, we have the connection in between. And now we can disable the preview on most of this stuff. Actually, we're going to need this one. So let's just take these two and merge them together. Let's go here, line 1, line 2. Now that they're merged together, let's use this one for the connection. And if we don't have enough space, we can come back here to the extend and lower the base limit. So the minimum, we'll make it minus, 5.00. We'll make the caps flat on this one. And on the extended or shortened ones, we will do the same thing, but make them round. This way you'll see how the connections look. So we'll take these in here. Let's decrease the size. We can decrease it also using a offset. So if the strut is 1 and we want, or if the connection is 1 and the strut wants to be smaller to show a difference, then you can just say minus and then 1.0000. We'll use a lot of decimals here. Went a little bit too far there, but okay. Now here, we'll just say 0.2 is the offset. And now every time we increase this, there's going to be a 0.2 offset. Now if we change this, there's going to always be that offset. So that's how when you tie numbers together, that's kind of the point of parametric design. And it will be useful because you don't have to worry about all the numbers, changing them all the time. Just worry about one of these and the offset. Let's go back and look at our subdivisions. Okay, so what's cool about this is so far, let's delete this, we've subdivided a surface and created a connection. Now I'm going to show you a few other things that will be useful for the script. So here's another thing that I feel like is going to be, it's going to look good and it's a useful technique to learn. So we have all of these merged connections. We're going to take those and use multipipe of subd multipipe, and we'll bring in a slider, 2 sliders, actually 3, one of them for the strut size, one of them for the end offset, and one of them for the node size. That's just what I like to use. Obviously, there are more options that you can play around with, but this gives us a general way to create a script. And let's disable the preview on these connections. Let me show you now. And we might need a little bit more. So we copy these because I changed the numbers and the limits on this one. So I'm just going to plug them in again. Caps on this one, there would be flat, so they connect correctly here. Let's change. This one will determine the connection. So the idea here is basically to create that on any surface. So if you see here, we have this plane input, this surface, and this as the output. We can now subdivide that surface in a completely different way and apply this entire script to it. And so that's what you'll be seeing here at the end. You'll see the entire other iteration time lapse of the other design that I did. I'll have both of these scripts on the website for you to download completely for free until the next video is released. And so for now, let's continue on taking this plane surface, subdividing it in a different way. So what I'm doing here is just creating a relay. This relay is going to let me separate these areas and let me introduce a different type of subdivision here between. So now if we want to, or if you have the ability to, go to Lunchbox. If you don't have it, download it. You will be able to have these presets. Let's go to triangle panels. We'll plug in the plane into the surface input. Let's lower the subdivisions. Now these panels will override the join brep, and now it'll join all of these panels and it will create the connection in between those. So if you notice that here it's not necessarily working, well, we can fix these issues. And that's the power of parametric design, is if you have a particular design, you can create like the algorithm and then introduce new variations so you can see all your options. So thank you very much for being here. Like I said, go to the website, download the script, and make sure to subscribe yourself so you can know when the next script will be dropped. And yeah, let's jump right into the other tutorial.